Hey y'all, thanks for stopping by. So, yesterday, I'm sure you've seen the news already, maybe through your social media feeds or maybe a coworker or family member, perhaps just on the regular news because sitting President Donald Trump has ordered all flags to be flown at half-mast for the next few days. But at an event in a university in Utah, conservative commentator, activist, and founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, was shot by at the point of recording, an unknown assailant. You may have seen the pictures of an older man who was being handcuffed and brought into custody. Eyewitnesses say he shouted, "And I'd do it again too," after the shots rang out, which led to him being arrested. But after an interview, he was released because this was not the shooter. I do find it very shocking that at this time no one has been brought in, considering we live under a constant surveillance state, and Charlie Kirk isn't exactly an unknown figure, so I assumed there would be at least a level of security surrounding this event, people just keeping an eye out or people who had all their cameras out. But I have no doubt this person will be brought to justice. Utah State Police have said very bluntly that the death penalty is still an option in the state of Utah. So whenever this assailant is brought into custody, I'm sure they will receive the fullest extent of what Utah law is capable of. Charlie Kirk is survived by a wife and two children. I've heard some reports that they were in attendance, they were in the crowd when this happened. Unfortunately, with the modern landscape we live in now, these kids are probably going to see that video. They may have already seen it, but at some point in their life, they're going to come across that and they're scrolling on the internet with how much it's been proliferated already. And of course, at the end of the day, sitting President Donald Trump made a statement about everything and ordered all flags to be flown at half-mast in memory of Charlie Kirk. This is something that I found a little strange. I do understand that Charlie Kirk is a very famous public figure. Again, he founded Turning Point USA. He was a very prominent conservative activist. He springboarded a lot of conservative talking heads careers and even liberal talking head careers. But this is a man who did not hold a seat in governmental office. He was never a mayor or governor or representative or senator or anything like that. And just about 3 months ago, there was a shooting in Minnesota. Their Speaker of the House, a woman named Portman, was shot dead in her home. Her and her husband were killed by a political assassin. And Donald Trump did not order the flags flown at half-mast for her. Several governors, including the governor of New York, did order flags flown at half-mast, but there was no federal response regarding this. When asking on social media about this just to get confirmation, I was met by a deluge of people who were upset at that form of questioning, saying that this was uncalled for, saying that a man just died and we should be respectful of the dead. And I'm just trying to make sure that people get the respect they deserve. After all, I find it a tragedy when anybody is victimized by political violence, but Charlie Kirk himself didn't believe that. When Nancy Pelosi and her husband were attacked by a political assailant, this was about 3 years ago if you don't remember that, but an insane man, hammer-wielding, underwear-clad dude, broke into their home and attempted to murder the both of them. Charlie Kirk met this with immediate skepticism, suggesting this was a lover's quarrel or that it was an attempt to smear all conservatives as violent and deranged. That was the marching orders a lot of conservatives had around this time. And it wasn't just these podcaster figures either. Donald Trump's own son had his own choice words about it, saying that he had his Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready. The 54-year-old senator from Utah, Mike Lee, called this a nightmare on Wall Street. As I'm sure you can guess, these two men, among others, have wrung their hands to the bone in concern over what has happened in Utah. Mike Lee himself posted that he's praying for the situation in Utah Valley University and to join him in praying for Charlie Kirk and the students gathered there. And while it would take a crazy person to say you shouldn't feel bad about people who are victimized by political violence, that is the people who we're dealing with. It's a joke until it's not. It's just memes on the internet from a 50-year-old who posts under the username Based Mike Lee until it isn't. Now it's serious and the time for jokes has passed and we have to be sympathetic and empathetic towards all these people who have espoused extremely violent rhetoric day in and day out. If this is all about respect and honoring the dead, well, Charlie Kirk was honored in the way that he chose to. He very bluntly said that gun deaths are unfortunately worth it to keep the Second Amendment. And this isn't just a out-of-context screenshot. You can watch the video with me right now.
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Beyond that, his children apparently being in the crowd also aligns with Charlie Kirk's morals about death and executions. But it should stand to note that there is one group of people out there who has seemingly stood completely steadfast on condemning the violence, condemning the murders, and suggesting that political violence is the last way you should attempt to resolve your issues. And that is Democrats. And I mean elected official Democrats, not how conservatives call everybody who's to their left a Democrat. I'm talking the people who are in office or hope to be in office. And I can't tell you how to feel about this kind of stuff. I do know I didn't sleep very well last night. I don't think anybody who is of a sound mind who watched that footage really sat well with it. It's a lot to see someone die in front of you. But the people who are telling you to be sympathetic about this, who are telling you that you need to respect the fallen dead, don't respect the fallen dead when it's someone that they disagree with. These types of people will mock trans people's suicides. These people will post all the time about wishing genocide on entire ethnic groups. The type of guy who, to this day, is still posting George Floyd edits. And now they're telling you that you're an evil person because you feel glib that an evil man who has said that we shouldn't have done the civil rights movement, who has suggested that a 10-year-old who is raped should have to keep that child and give birth to it, who has day in and day out defended the atrocities of Israel and their actions towards their neighbors in the Middle East, who day in and day out has defended the atrocities of Russia and refused any sort of aid that the United States would attempt to give over there. These are merchants of death, agents of this sort of chaos, but all of a sudden now you have to feel bad because he's dead. Not to dump the entire magazine to the right, but you have people like Hassan Piker, who just days ago was suggesting violent action be taken against his political rivals, namely Nick Fuentes suggesting an ACP guy needs to take care of him or eat him alive, and now is suggesting that this terrifying incident is a reverberation of people seeking out vengeance in the aftermath of it is going to be genuinely worrisome. Which, again, that is true, but it's crazy to me that Hassan seemingly has more sympathy for Charlie Kirk in this moment than he did for the victims of 9/11. Maybe you could call it class solidarity between podcasters. A couple of things, though, just to wrap this up. I know this is going longer than most of my normal videos. I don't like the position that Charlie Kirk was just a normal guy. Some people keep saying that he was just a dude who was a guy or something like that. He wasn't. He founded Turning Point USA. He was an extremely influential Republican conservative talking head who espoused incredibly violent ideals. But with the way our society is set up, that's not a right to kill somebody. Just in case I need to make this clear, say it in as clear words as I can, I believe that right-wing propagandists have the same free speech rights as the rest of us. I believe that nobody in a functionally democratic society should be shot for their words. But that doesn't mean I need to have sympathy for them. In fact, I would say it's mentally healthy for you to not have sympathy for a person who espouses ideals that would lead to your death. That's not hypocritical of you in any way that you should mourn someone who hated you. Call it a tragedy. You can feel bad for his wife and kids, but you should never feel like you have to mourn someone who hates you. Or hated you, I should say. Sorry. To the people who say you should not politicize Charlie Kirk's death or you should not make this into a big thing, I don't believe that the guy who politicized every death he ever came across should actually receive that sort of sympathy from you. It's your choice to make, it's your spirit on the line, and as far as your karma or however you want to look at it, but I don't think Charlie Kirk has any kind of room to stand on right now when it comes to the way people were treated after their death. One thing that I know for sure is going to come from this is no new gun laws are going to pass, especially not if we honor Charlie Kirk's own wishes. Don't allow emotions to dictate gun policy. Tyrants would love nothing more than to capitalize on an evil tragedy as an excuse to confiscate your guns and limit your ability to protect yourself. Well, one thing we can agree on with that post is that it was a tragedy what happened. All the people who saw that video, all those kids in that crowd, they're going to remember that for a long time. That sort of imagery sticks with you. I say this as someone who grew up in a wild west of the internet where live link was everywhere. That was some very clear footage to see. And if that footage disturbs you, well, just keep in mind that Charlie Kirk has been celebrating the death and very clear footage of Palestinian children being turned into paste by our tax dollars. So I guess if you don't like the way this stuff looks, maybe you can just look away like you do with every other tragedy on the planet. As I stated previously, though, President Donald Trump has ordered all flags to be flown at half-mast in memorial of Charlie Kirk through the 14th, rather than say anything about the school shooting that happened in Colorado one after Charlie Kirk got shot, or even make a memorial about 9/11 victims of today. As long as we hoist up the podcaster class, I guess that's what really matters in America. That's what making America great again is all about. But I guess until we learn more information and until the president still blames this on the left, y'all try to have a good day.